Okay, good afternoon. If you're on the East Coast, good afternoon. If you're on the West Coast, good afternoon still. My name is Janelle Pierre, and I will be filling in for the one and only Nikki Connor for today's presentation. Let me know when you come in if you can see me, if you can hear me, and I'm just going to take a second to check the audio real quick on my phone. Know when you come in if you can see me, if you can hear me, and I'm just going to take a second to check the audio real quick on my phone. Okay, so it sounds like the audio is fine. All right, so I can hear myself on the audio. How is everyone doing? I hope that you have been enjoying the summit so far. I hope that you have been learning a lot so far, and I hope that you feel a little bit more empowered than you did before the summit started. My name, like I said before, is Janelle Pierre. I am a financial success coach, and what I do is that I help ambitious, career-oriented women manage their money more effectively and put them on a path to financial independence. So if that's something that you've been thinking about, playing around with, and want to learn more about, you're going to do that today. All right, so I will be sharing my screen for today's presentation. All right, 1 second, making sure everything is good. Let me know if you have any problems seeing the screen when I do share it. Hey, Rue, how are you? Nice that you're here with me. All right. Oops, 1 second. Trying to get the screen share going. All right. Once I verify that the screen share works, I will start the presentation. Okay, it looks like everything works. All right, so like I said before, my name is Janelle P. I'm a financial success coach, and today we're going to be talking about spending with a purpose, the key to eliminating debt and increasing your net worth. All right, so what are we going to discuss today? Today we're going to talk about the cost of debt. We're going to touch on money mindset. We're going to talk about setting goals, creating a spending plan, and increasing your net worth. So a lot of the times it's easy. The advantages that comes along with borrowing money are great, but it comes with very huge consequences most of the times, especially if you're not in the best place financially. You're going to pay more to borrow that money. So whereas you have access to right now money to take care of the things that you need to take care of, it comes at a cost. Meaning, if you have a lower credit score or you have way more debt, well, your debt is too high for the income that you're bringing in, which is called your debt to income ratio, you would typically pay more money to borrow the money that you need. All right. And because of that, the price that you pay, your interest is usually higher when you have a lower credit score. All right. With the high interest rate now, that can translate into hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on how much money you decide you wanted to borrow. All right. And the more money used to purchase non-productive assets is the less money that you will have for those productive assets that will help you build wealth and increase your net worth. And later on in the presentation, we're going to go through exactly what productive and non-productive assets are. So wait a minute now. So let's look at some live examples of how expensive it is to actually borrow money. All right. So let's say you have a credit card or a couple credit cards, and credit card number one has a balance of $5,000. Right. Now I can't see the comments, so I'll just get to it at the end of the presentation. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but when I get to the end of the presentation, I'll be able to look at the questions and answer them then. So let's look at credit card number one. Your balance, you have spent $5,000 on this credit card, and your interest rate is now 20%. Now, I want you to be mindful that with credit cards, your interest rate can change. If you're close to the max or you have already maxed out the card or you're using way more than 30% of whatever that balance is, your interest rate, excuse me, can change. So let's say right now your interest rate, why do I keep saying credit? Your interest rate is up to 20%, but you're making minimum only payments. It is going to take you 4.2 years or 4 years and 2 months to pay off that $5,000. And at the end of that period, you would have paid over $2,300 in interest. That's $2,300 that you could have put towards your future had you not had that credit card debt or let it linger for that long. Now let's look at a car loan, how much it typically costs to borrow a car. So typically, most people spend around $25,000 to $35,000 on a car. Interest rate is around 6%. Let's be safe on this. You have an average credit score, you get a 6% interest rate, and your monthly payment is $580 a month. You took out a 72-month or a 6-year loan on that vehicle. At the end of that time period, you would have paid over $6,700 in interest on top of the cost of that vehicle, all the while that vehicle is depreciating and its costing is valued way less. All of a sudden it got really overcast. So if my room went dark, it's because, yeah, clouds came out of nowhere. So why would you want to pay off your credit card debt as soon as possible? Or any one of your debts? When you go into debt, you want to pay them off as soon as possible. One, when you owe people, those people have control over your money more than you do. They are the ones that say how much you have to pay, when you need to pay it, how much you have to pay, the whole area. You're not the one controlling your money when you owe other people. All right. Also, you'll be able to build your wealth a whole lot faster if you do not have a considerable amount of debt. Because like I showed before with the example, it costs a lot of money to carry debt. All right, your credit scores will improve. Once you don't have as much debt, your credit score goes up, which means when you do have to borrow money, those cases where you do have to borrow money, let's say, for example, to buy a home, you would have a better credit score, which would translate into a better interest rate, which again translates into less money being spent on interest charges. And also you'll have better health. And I think this is the most important. I probably should have put this a little bit higher up, because when you're under the constraints of debt, it is really, really hard to not be stressed out. It is hard to not be overwhelmed. It is hard to really control life the way you want to, because debt consumes who you are. It takes over a big chunk of your life, and then you always feel like there's this heaviness that's just sitting on your chest or your back or your shoulder. So paying it off and getting that monkey off your back, so to speak, can translate into having better health. All right, so that's the cost of debt, and that's the reasons why you need to focus more on paying off debt so that you can focus on other things. So what is your money mindset? And the reason why I put this in here, because a lot of people don't really understand that the way they think about their money influences how they spend their money. So just think to yourself right now, or you can drop it in the comments. What was your first memory around money? What was your first experience as a child with money? What was that first thing that mom told you or dad told you, or just what was your experience? And typically, if that experience was before the age of 7, that is when and where your money mindset was developed. So if as a child, for example, you ask your parents for money, you get it, and you just go buy whatever you wanted, your impression at that age would be money comes easy and I can spend money whichever way I want. However, if you were one of those people that grew up with a single parent like I was, and nothing came very easily, and you were told you have to work for money, then that influences how you think about money moving forward. Excuse me, moving forward in your life. So what was that experience? What really has determined how do you spend money? How do you save money? How do you treat money? How do you think about money right now? That's something that was created from your childhood experience, your very first childhood experience with money. All right. And I also wanted to talk about putting if you want to, if you want to change your money mindset or improve your money mindset, let's say right now you fall into the category of spending more than you should, and you know you should be saving, or you know you shouldn't have 70 pairs of shoes at the same time, and you want to change that, this is the way that you can start that process. Put some respect on your money. Like, for real, just think about how many hours it takes to work to buy that one item. How many hours do you have to sit in traffic? How many hours do you have to put up with classism, racism, sexism in the workplace? How many hours do you have to be frustrated? How many times have you been passed over for promotion you know you deserve? The way you earn that money, how much do you have to go through to get that check in your hand to just take it and spend it on things that you don't necessarily need at the time? That's where you start, by putting some respect on how much, because they're not going to respect you more than you can respect yourself. The people at your workplace that make your job or your work experience a living nightmare. All right. So, and this is a lesson I learned at 19. My best friend and I, story real quick. My best friend and I, we, at young teenager, I think we were 18 at the time when we met, we were working in a grocery store, a local grocery store in New York. And we were working for minimum wage, which was $5.15 an hour back in 2002, 3, somewhere around that time frame. And when we go to the mall, when we go shopping, we were both living on our own at that time. And we had our own households to take care of, right? There was no mommy and daddy taking care of us. So when we go to the mall to buy stuff that we needed, we would actually calculate how many hours we had to stand on our feet in that grocery store in the cold, because the door was literally where we stood to cash. The door was in line with where we stood, and we stood on our feet all day in the cold. And if anyone is from New York or has ever visited New York in the wintertime, you know it is not, winters are not very pleasant. So you're standing there in full winter clothes, just cloaked up, trying to catch, sometimes gloves on your hands. You know, we had to wear gloves because we were so incredibly cold. And so we knew when we go to the mall, if something cost a shift, and our shifts were 4, 8, and 12-hour shifts, 12 hours long. So if something cost more than a shift, we couldn't afford it. It was too expensive. All right, moving on. So one thing that helps when it comes to spending your money is, okay, so my picture disappeared. There was actually supposed to be a picture right here. Is setting goals. People that set goals are 42% more likely to achieve the goals that they set. And a survey done some years back revealed that less than 3% of Americans have written goals. They've actually taken the time to write their goals out of what they want to do with their money, what they want to accomplish, where they want to go. And of that 3%, less than 1% reviewed or rewrote their goals on a daily basis. Now, I'm not saying that you have to rewrite your goals on a daily basis, but at a minimum, you need to look at them and make sure that the things that you're doing is in line with the goals that you are trying to accomplish. All right. Set goals. Without setting goals, it's like jumping in your car and saying, I'm going to go to Disneyland in Florida, or if it's Disney World, I don't know. Whichever one is in Florida, that's like saying, I'm going there, but you're going there with half a tank of gas, no money, and no GPS or a map. How are you going to get there? You've never driven there before. So, and a goal is something that you try to achieve that you haven't achieved already. So if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a map, if you don't have a GPS, how will you be able to achieve that goal? All right. So how do you write goals? How do we make goals? So there's this thing called a SMART method to goal setting. And each letter has a different meaning. So S stands for specific. You want, when you write a goal, your goal is well defined. It is clear, right? You know specifically what this goal is. It's not just, well, I'll get into that a little bit. Give me a second. You want it to be measurable. You want to be able to quantify when and how, which part in that process you are with that particular goal. It has to be achievable, meaning you're not trying to say, we're talking about money here right now. So let's say you work for $75,000 a year, but you're trying to save 65 and you're living in New York. That's not achievable. It's not. You can't do that. And achievable and realistic is almost the same thing. It has to be within your reach, and realistic has to be within your reach and relevant to your purpose. All right. Don't set goals in a way. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You can set any goal that you want. I believe that if you wanted to become a millionaire in 5 years, you can absolutely do that. But the steps to get there has to be realistic. That's what I'm talking about. The steps to achieving that goal has to be realistic. You will not be able to save 75% of your salary if you have responsibilities in order to attain that goal. Make sense? All right, and it has to be timely. You have to give yourself a certain amount of time in which to achieve each step of the goal. All right, so let's look. I'm looking for comments. I can actually look on my phone. All right, so this is an example. Now, I'm in my feelings that my pictures disappeared because these pictures, I took forever to find them. All right, but this is how you would write a specific, a smart goal. This is an example of a SMART goal. I will increase my emergency savings account by $1,040 by automating $20 per week to be transferred from my checking account into my online savings account for the next 52 weeks. It leaves no space for error. That you already know how much you're going to save at the end of a 52-week time period. You know how much you're going to save, how often you're going to save it, and where that money is coming from and where it is going. All right, so this is an example of a SMART goal. All right. Have you ever found yourself saying, man, if only I made more money, I could do this, 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 that. A lot of the times we tend to think that making more money is the answer. So sometimes we find ourselves getting a second job, or we find ourselves working overtime, or we find ourselves just being miserable at the amount of money that we're making currently because of the situation that we're in. But let me tell you that making more money is not the answer if you have no clue how to manage the money that you're currently making. If you don't know how to take care of this much, you're not going to automatically know how to take care of this much. You're just not. So whereas more money can make your life more comfortable, it can also make your life more miserable. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of examples of people that had that wish. If they did, I'm assuming that they had that wish for more money. Let's take a look at some of these. So these are some people that I researched on the internet. We're going to start on my left, which will probably be your right. All right. So Michael Carroll, he won $15 million in his local lottery. About, I can't remember what year he won that money. And within 5 years, he was trying to get his old job back. Within 5 years, $15 million was gone. And his old job was at McDonald's. Now, no shade to anyone that works at McDonald's. Okay, as long as you're making a living, it does not matter what you do. But to go from 15 million back down to basically begging for your old job back within 5 years is not really good. All right, moving over to Lara and Roger Griffiths. They won $2.76 million. And they, at the time that they won that money, or at the time that their marriage dissolved, they were married for 14 years. Within 5 years, the husband, Roger, drove off in a Porsche that Lara bought him because he was probably messing with another woman. All right, so marriage over, life over, $2.76 million gone completely. I think with this story, their house had caught on fire and they didn't even have insurance to cover it. I believe that's the story. All right. William Bud Post, $114 million after tax. Within 4 years, dead broke. Jack Whitaker, $314 million. All right. And let me tell you about Jack. Jack was already a millionaire when he won this money. So he was no stranger to millionaire status, but still within 10 years, he had lost his daughter and his granddaughter and all of that money. All of it. All of it. All right. Luke Petard won 1.9 million. Oh no, this is the guy. Michael, the first guy, was actually a garbage collector. because the McDonald's guy is down here. I researched way too many people. But Luke Petard, $1.9 million, and within 18 months was back working at McDonald's. All right. Michael Carroll was a garbage collector. Sharon Tirabassi, 10 million Canadian dollars. Within 10 years, she was back riding the bus and renting an apartment. So my point to all of this is to show you that if you don't have good money habits before the money, you're not going to have it after. It's not something that you can just absorb through osmosis. Okay, I have the money and now I just know what to do with it. You have to take the time and you have to spend with a purpose in order to not go back where you were or even be in a worse position than you were before the money. All right. So why is spending with a purpose so important? And the biggest reason why, one of the biggest reasons why, is that little word called inflation, or that little thing called inflation. And inflation is just the rate at which the cost of goods and services rises over time. That's just, and the standard amount that increase is 2 to 3% per year. So if we look at our chart down at my right side of the screen, so should be on your right side of the screen as well. What this chart shows you is, let's say that's 100 apples. I think it's $17.99, I believe. I could barely see it on my computer for some reason. But that 100 cases of apples that 100 apples in $17.99 cost $100. Today, you would pay over $2,000 or just around $2,000 for that same exact 100 apples or whatever you want to use, a pair of shoes. Let's use a pair of shoes to make it easy. All right. So in $17.99, that pair of shoes cost $100. In 2000, 2002, 2003, whatever the case might be, 2019, that was last year. 2019, I should probably put my glasses on, huh? 2019, you'll be paying close to $2,000 for that same pair of shoes. And that is the reason why you need to spend with a purpose, because the money that you have today is gonna be worth so much less tomorrow. And if you don't have enough of it, if you don't make good decisions, later on you can end up being in a position where you're hurting. Does that make sense? All right, so how do you spend with a purpose? The first thing that you have to do to spend with a purpose after creating your goals, your SMART goals, is creating your spending plan. And a spending plan is just a really fancy way of saying budgets, because budgets just make people want to cringe for some reason. And I think mostly because back in the day, people really stressed and made budgets so hard. But spending plan is so easy to create. And the best thing that I like about creating spending plans, and I love doing this with my clients, is that you can put whatever you want in your spending plan. Like whatever you want. I don't restrict my clients on the things that they want. What I do stress to them, or try to make them understand, is if you want a particular thing, you might just want to buy less of it, a little bit less of it, right? I don't say, no, you cannot have. Like for example, I have a client that smokes. It's not my job to tell her not to smoke. That is not my place. If that's how she deals with her stress, so be it. All right. But what we do, we come up with a certain amount of money that we're going to dedicate to cigarettes. And that brings me to the different types of budgets. All right. So the first one is a zero-based budget. Some people who do the zero-based budgeting method, what they do, they ensure that every dollar in their plan is assigned a job. Every single dollar, meaning their income minus whatever they spend is equal to zero every single month. They know where every single dollar goes. They assign every dollar a job. 2, the 60-20-20 budget. So that's the budget that I personally use right now, but I tweak it, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. So the 60-20-20 budget is basically 60% of your income, whatever you bring in, whatever money you bring in after taxes, your net income, taxes and deductions, that is, your net income, you dedicate that to your essential expenses. And essential expenses is basically the things that you cannot live without. And I'm talking about food, I'm talking about clothing, I'm talking about shelter, and I'm talking about your transportation method to get to work, whatever that may be. Those are the things that you absolutely cannot live without at all. So 60% of your income is dedicated to that. 20% is dedicated to savings and investing. And the other 20% is dedicated to what we call discretionary spending, which is pretty much the things that you like to have, but you could do without. It's non-essential. If you don't have it, you're not going to dry up and shrivel up and die. Like if you don't have it, you don't have it. It's okay. So 20% goes to that. Now, I say I do it with a twist because I live a very simple lifestyle. I don't require a whole lot. So I don't need to spend 20% of my income on things that I don't want. I do not like clutter in my house. I like my house to be open, airy, and just calm with little, I get clustered really quickly when things are scattered and there's just too much going on in a room. So there's no need for me to spend 20% of my income on discretionary spending. So what I do, what I don't need for that month, what I'm not going to spend, it gets added to my savings. Make sense? Number 3, the cash only budget system or method. And this is pretty much your envelope method. And some of you might have seen your parents do this coming up. And all it's doing is that you're assigning how much money you're going to spend on whatever you're going to spend money on, that's what you're going to spend money on. And you put each dollar amount in a different envelope with its own label. So this is groceries, this is rent, this is for transportation, this is for insurance, whatever the case might be. And you just pull that money out of there. And once that envelope is empty, it's empty and that's it. Money is done. And then there's a pay yourself first budget. And what that means is that you're pulling out whatever you get paid, you're pulling out your savings first before you spend a dime on anything else. All right. So that's your 401k, your Roth IRA, emergency fund savings, your education fund, wherever bucket you're putting savings in, that's coming out first before you even pay your mortgage, your rent, your whatever. And that works well for some people because savings is that high on their priority list. So you can use whichever, and this is just 4. There are so many different ways you can budget. I promise you can find a spending plan that suits your exact need, or you can even make one up yourself. The plan is to be purposeful. When you swipe that card or when you pull that cash out, you're pulling it out with a particular purpose that is in alignment with your goals. If you don't know, I'm jumping ahead of myself. If you are unsure where your money goes, you need to track your spending for a few months, or if that's too much, because a lot of people, we live in a world where we have to go in order to create a living for ourselves. All right. So if that's too much for you to do to track how much money you're spending on a daily basis, just go back to your last 3 months worth of credit and debit card statements. Go back, sit down with them, I should say, and use different color pens, different color highlighters, whatever you need to do, and kind of categorize where you're spending your money. Like, look at, am I spending too much money on eating out? Am I spending too much money on, I don't know, I don't want to sound cliche, but am I spending too much money on coffee, on Starbucks? Am I spending too much money? Oh my gosh, that's lightning and thunder now. Hopefully my dog doesn't start barking because he's scared of lightning and thunder. But oh, there he goes. Spoke too fast. Yes, whatever is that category. Am I buying too much shoes? Am I buying too many handbags? Am I buying whatever it is? Just kind of categorize where that money is going, because you need to know where the money is going in order to reallocate it to either paying off your debt or putting it towards income producing assets, which we'll get to in a little bit later on. All right, so I am so disappointed. All of my pictures went away. So my slide looks completely boring, but okay. So increasing your net worth. So when I talk about net worth, what am I talking about? What do I mean? Why is this thing so important that I need to spend time on it? Your net worth is the value of the things that you own minus whatever money you owe. This is not to be confused with your value. Your value as a person has nothing to do with your net worth. Don't get the two confused. I just wanted to throw that out there because some people think, oh, my net worth is negative 26,000. I'm not worth anything. No, that's not what this is. That's not what that one has nothing to do with the other. We're just talking about money right now, and money does not define you. All right, it makes your life a heck of a lot more comfortable, but it does not define you as a person, or at least it shouldn't. All right, so you want to take an inventory of everything that you own, or the value of it, right? What is it worth right now, today? And you want to deduct what you owe from that amount, and you will know for sure what your net worth is. All right, so what are some of the things that you can own when you're sitting down to figure out your net worth? Some of the things that you can own is cash, like cash in the bank, cash at home, cash on hand, whatever, cash. Investment accounts, so your 401k, Roth IRAs, all of that type of stuff. The value of your vehicle, whatever that vehicle or vehicles may be. The market value of your home, your business ventures, collectibles such as jewelry, art, and furniture, and the cash value of whatever insurance policy that you may have. All right, and what are some of the things that you can you owe on? Your mortgage, car loan, credit card balance, personal loans, student loans, all of that stuff is things that you owe. So you want to take the value of the column on the left side and the value of it, and you want to deduct the amount that you owe to get your net worth. Is everyone clear on that? Looking for comments. All right. All right. And then once you know what your net worth is, now it's time to, so you know how much you owe, you know what your net worth is. Now it's time to readjust. You've created your spending plan. Now it's time to reallocate, readjust, and reset your mind to purchasing or spending towards productive assets, because productive assets are what is going to increase your net worth. All right. So what is a productive asset? Any asset or anything that you own that can provide you with a stable monthly income is a productive asset. So those are the things that you want to work towards owning. Something that can put money into your pocket every month. A lot of people tend to think that when they buy a vehicle, they're making an investment. If you are not using that vehicle as an income producing vehicle, then it is not an asset. It is not, sorry, it's not an investment. An investment has to put money back into your pocket. Think of it this way. Anything that you have to spend money on, anything that takes money out, the money goes out of your pocket, out of your bank account, it's not an investment. Unless it's returning money to you on a monthly basis. All right. So those things are like, for example, examples of productive assets is stocks, rental property, and business. And this is the way, by being purposeful and by spending money. And these are just a few examples. Of course, there's more. I just listed a few of them. So when it comes to spending money, this is the reason why you need to focus as hard as you can on being purposeful with your dollars, knowing when to spend, on what to spend, and the reason behind why you are spending this money. We were not created to just pay bills and die. We weren't created for that. We were not created for that. You were created with the intent to live a full life. And I'm just speaking here, and this is not me talking from the Bible or anything else. In my opinion, you were created to live a full life and leave a legacy. Leave something that somebody can remember you by. Okay? So I was working on a free gift for everyone that tuned in today, but I didn't get enough time to complete it. I had some running around to do this morning, so I will get you your free gift. It is called Repay Your Debt, and it's a guide to help you repay your credit card debt, because credit card debt right now is one of the most popular debt, or one of it's one of those that most Americans carry right now, and it's one of the most expensive debt to carry. All right, so it's a guide to help you paying that off and pay it off faster and saving you interest, a lot of the interest payments on it. So you can follow me on social media. My handle is at FI Her Way, Financial Independence Her Way, because my business was created to help other women. I chose women mostly because we're the ones that handle the money, straight up. We're the ones that handle the money in the home majority of the times. And also, we're the ones that need to be a little bit more careful with what we gain because we make less money than our male counterparts. All right, we're already bringing in less. I think it's what, 69 cents on the dollar or something like that difference. I have to check that to be sure. But I believe it's like between 67 and 69 cents when our male counterparts is working for around 70 or 80 cents on the dollar. All right. And you can also reach me at hello@fiherway.com. That's my email address. And also my group. It's been on every slide I have 1 second. Carmelo, it's okay. It is okay. He's really whining. I'm sorry, you guys. Yes, and also my group. I'm getting ready to do some really big things in my group coming up pretty soon. And it's called let me go back to it because I literally just changed it this morning. The FI Achievers Society. The FI Achievers. So what we're going to be working on in that group is everything that we do is going to be directed towards increasing net worth and attaining financial independence. And financial independence is where you get to that place where you start making your money work for you instead of you working for your money. So you're not sitting down waiting on a paycheck every month. Oh my gosh, I need this paycheck. I need this paycheck. Your money, you're putting your money in a place where your money is working for you and bringing income back into you. All right? And you don't need to be a millionaire to do that. You just need to spend with a purpose in order to have your money work. Because guess what? When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you just cannot deal with this work environment anymore, and you're going through all of the motions where you want to just give up, your money doesn't feel any of that. So send your money to work and lay in the bed if you so choose. All right. I'm a firm believer of making your money work. All right. And so I'm going to stop sharing right now because that is the end of my presentation. Okay, let me get back to StreamYard. Okay, and I'm going to look back at the questions. I don't see any. All right. Does anyone have any questions they'd like me to answer concerning the group, concerning spending plans, concerning debt, net worth, anything? Remember, the name of the group is the FI Achievers Society, FI Achievers Society, and you can follow me on all social media networks. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have Facebook. All right, so if there are no questions to answer, I would end this broadcast right now, and we will be coming back at, I believe it's 5 p.m. my time, which is 2 p.m. your time for those of you that are on the Pacific Coast. All right, those of you who are on the West Coast, we will be back. And I think who's coming up after me? I believe it's Miss Tracy. Oh no, it's Rue. It is Rue. Rue is coming later on at 5 p.m. my time, 2 p.m. for those of you that are on the West Coast. And she has some amazing content to drop for you. So with that being said, it was my pleasure sitting here with you today. I thoroughly enjoy teaching what I teach. I love to teach people to build wealth. That is what I do. To tell you, before I leave, I'll tell you a little bit about my story and how I got into this business. Pretty much, I was living in New York, like I said, as a very young woman on my own, trying to figure life out. And I had to live on such a tiny bit of money that I had no other option than to learn and understand how money works. I had no choice. I just had to learn how money works in order to be able to survive. Okay. And since then, I have just been growing and growing and growing and expanding my knowledge. Because when you're in that place, I appreciate you too, Pierre. when you get in that place where you have to go to sleep because you don't have enough money to buy food, you're going to want to do something different. You're going to want to make different choices. You're going to want to learn everything that you got to learn, especially when you know that that lifestyle is not the lifestyle that you had designed for yourself as a young person. You know, I wanted to have a car. I wanted to have a nice house. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do all these things, but here I am stuck in this tiny room sleeping on an air mattress because I'm not making enough money to take care of my most basic needs. All right. And because I couldn't take care of my most basic needs, I couldn't afford to even go to school to even accept a better position if something was open to me, because all I had was my high school diploma and nothing else for many years after high school. All right. I just I'm about to graduate with my with my graduate degree this summer. All right, I've already completed, but COVID shut everything down. I was supposed to graduate in May. I was actually supposed to have my commencement ceremony in May, and that didn't happen because of COVID. So my commencement ceremony is now in August. But when you have dreams and goals and things that you want to do for your parents and your siblings and yourself, and you want to create this life, a different life, being where you don't want to be would birth something different in you. And when I went through that struggle period, I had no choice. I looked at it as I had no choice. So instead of sitting there and feeling sorry for myself, I started learning how to build credit, how to be better at my budget. I was living on like less than $120 a week sometimes. So I had to sit down with book. To this day, I still have this book. Remember I was saying earlier, the things that you go through is going to determine how you look at your money. Going through that struggle has taught me to sit down every single month, twice a month, with my budget to make sure that I stay on target. And I'm far from struggling now, but still, that habit that I had developed in order to survive is the habit now that I use is what I'm using to create my financial independence. Is the process. It was the foundation of me using my money and learning and understanding how to put my money in places and vehicles in situations where it can work for me. So the harder I make my money work, the less I can work, because I've already been through it. I've already done it, and I'm not going to keep doing it going on for the rest of my life. All right. My ultimate goal now is to be able to retire my mother. My mother still works, and I want to be able to retire her with probably a $60,000 a year salary, something to that effect. All right. So that's what I'm working towards now, saying, hey, you need to sit down. You've been you've been working for too long, and now it's time to just go travel the world. That's the lifestyle I want for her. And that's why I do what I do. All right. No matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, doesn't matter how much money you make, you can use what you have to get to where you want to be. All right. And that's my presentation. That's a little bit about me. Join the FI, the FI Achievers Society, and you'll get to know a little bit about me, a little bit more about me, and you can start your own financial independence journey as well. So that's all I have for you today. And we will be back at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Ciao for now.